visually, I mean, this would be for me. If I don't feel like drinking alcohol one night, I mean, having this, I don't think I would feel left out. Welcome to our first podcast. This is exciting. I'm very excited about this. We've never been in this forum before, but the purpose of this forum is to educate you as a public in how to use tea in a probably non-conventional way, how to see tea in a non-conventional way, how to appreciate tea probably in a different way than what you're used to. And I needed some help to do that. So I've chosen two of my favorite people here. This is Justin Merrick to the left of me, sommelier at Djursholm Country Club. And we have Kristina Langmar from she's representing you guys, but she has a very educated palate, I would say. So she's definitely the right person to be here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
And for our first episode.
Yeah.
We'll see how this goes. Right? So the purpose of this episode, I think people have a preconception about tea, and our mission, I would say that the Tea Center of Stockholm, our mission and my vision is to somewhere break that and present tea in a different, innovative way. And at least for the Scandinavian market, or at least for Sweden, I would say that doing that, like a way of doing that is approaching tea as you would wine. Because I would say in Sweden, having Systembolaget, which is a monopoly here, we have such an educated palate, and we have such knowledge in wine already, where I think that we could implement that in tea, or you can implement that in tea. And I think that we need to get people to understand that we speak about the same, we speak about terroir, we speak about altitude and elevation and everything. So there's the only difference is that you're talking about grapes and we're talking about leaves, but that's the approach I wanted to have for this podcast. And I think that it would be really interesting to see how we could present that to the public.
Yep. Well, I think since we've known each other, and you've been in this business since I've known you, and I've been in wine for quite some time. The tastings that I've been with you, I started to notice that there was a direct correlation between our worlds. The terminology was slightly different at times, depending on what we were talking about, but the procedure was very, very similar, and the assessment was very, very similar. So this is kind of a natural mix for us, right?
Even for you, Christina, I mean, you've been a friend to the family for many, many, many years, and even like from my father's time, that he used to talk about food and tea and even cooking with food with tea. So even for you, I mean, it's nothing new, but
it has definitely inspired my way of the culinary world. I had many talks with your father and with you as well, how to combine tea in cooking or together with cooking.
Yep.
And as an amateur, I love that. And I try to implement that in my dinner with friends or in my work when I work with events. So I think it's an amazing world. And especially as we're going to talk tonight about the wine and tea.
There's a versatility to tea, which I think that people are not aware of. People are maybe very focused on black and green. An example is going to a restaurant today, right? There's some fantastic, amazing restaurants in Stockholm, and you're presented with this lovely menu, and you're presented with this lovely side menu of only wines, and there's at least 20, 30 wines listed there, and there's the year, the vintage, the grape, and everything. But when I ask, what tea do you have? It's pretty much, we have a black and we have a green.
Yep.
Which one would you prefer? And that's where I want our customers and the market to push the restaurants and bars to be like, okay, we need to step up our game. We we need to step up our game when it comes to tea, because there's so much versatility, there's so much flavor profiles, and like we were talking about. And I'm getting a little bit thirsty just talking about it. So I think we should start off by, Justin, you brought one of your favorite wines.
Yeah. I've done a lot of traveling since I've been working in the wine world. And some of my travels have taken me to some amazing places. And one of my favorite places is the south of France. In respects to a lot of the associated flavors that we're going to be talking about today, I brought one of my favorite wines that comes from a small region outside of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which is called Vacqueyras. And Vacqueyras tends to be a blend of those grapes, not dissimilar from Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which is very, liked here in Scandinavia. I noticed that when moving here, that Châteauneuf-du-Pape, for at least a span of 5 to 6 years, was one of the favorite wines in Systembolaget. So this is a Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre blend. And they tend to be very fruit forward, lots of good structure. And depending on the winemaker's decision, they can have long ageability, and they can be quite big and bold, or they can be a little bit lighter and fruitier and, still a little bit more approachable early on. And that's why I like this region a lot, because Châteauneuf-du-Pape has a notoriety, but these smaller regions that are just outside, they tend to have just the same quality, but they're not as recognized because they don't have the Pope's name attached to the bottle. They have a lot of similarities in the etiquette, how the bottles are made, which makes that defiant to that section of the country. In Châteauneuf-du-Pape, if you've ever seen some of the bottles, they tend to have this engraving in the glass, which is the keys crossed, or you can have the Pope's hat. Those are the two acceptable engravings on the bottle. And this has the keys, which kind of dignifies that it comes from the region outside of Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
And there's no significance in the quality, if it's the keys or the
not that I noticed. When I was in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, it was basically, I think that the Pope's hat was the original, and then somebody, I don't know, maybe had a monopoly on the Pope hat bottles, and they started making the keys, or it was the opposite. I can't remember, but there are a lot of rules in Châteauneuf-du-Pape about what you can and can't do, what grapes are allowed, what percentage the wine has to be, and just where the wine has to come from because of the region itself. And it's kind of nice when you come outside the region a little bit. It's a little bit looser in the regulations, but they're still very similar to the style. But they tend to be a little bit bigger and bolder than the high residual sugar of the Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
So while you open that, Christina, what is your, I already know, but please share, your relationship to tea, and when do you preferably drink tea, and so on?
So I'm both a coffee drinker and a tea drinker.
Let's not swear in church.
No, that's what I was just going to say. I hope you don't.
What did she say?
I'm sitting in a tea house.
Cut that out. She said she loved tea. I heard tea.
But the thing, I was raised in Brazil, so I have to kind of love tea.
Okay.
That's my... But, tea for me is not only drinking during wintertime. Maybe, Swedes tend to drink only during the cold seasons. I drink it year-round. I love iced tea. But also, my relation to tea is that I use it in cooking as well. And I get some ideas like tea ice cream. I use your söderblandning in cakes, or sometimes I've even put it in whipped cream, infused, because you want that kind of a flowery, nice in a summer cake. So a lot of my cooking has to do with.
And when you say infused, like you would infuse how would you infuse the?
So I just put a little bit of, I kind of boil down the tea, but still put a little bit of sugar so it's not too sharp. And then I put it in the cream. So it almost becomes like a syrup. You could say.
So you're creating a syrup out of the
exactly.
Tea.
But also, if you remember on my wedding, I also created together with Lux, the pastry shop, the pralines infused with the söderblandning.
I remember.
So, I just love.
That's something that they continued with for some time, I think.
I did, yes, they did, and they were inspired also to use other teas as well. Yeah. So I'm kind of glad that happened with your father. Yeah.
No, and I know we have one of our customers, fantastic chocolate company called Chokladfabriken here in Stockholm. They do pralines with söderblandning, which is a part of their like standard assortment, I would say. Yeah. And it seems to be very appreciated.
And you know what? I went to them first before I went to Lux.
And they said no?
And they said no.
And then they took your idea and...
I don't know. I'm not taking, but I must say I did first. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to call them after this.
We might have to.
I need some royalty.
We need some royalties.
Okay, so let's try this out. This is...
Well, we talked about tea and wine as a process, the assessment and whatnot. So obviously the first thing that you do when you're looking at wine is you read the etiquette, find out where the wine is from. And you have, if you've tried a wine from that region, you already have a preconceived notion of what the wine should or could taste like. And that's what's nice for me when I do these tastings, because when you do tastings, just like you do with tea, you're not just tasting one or two teas, you're tasting maybe 30 to 40 different wines or tea at one time. And so it has to be, well, it doesn't have to be, but it usually is a quicker process. And so you gain a little of information about reading the etiquette and whatnot. So then you pour the wine into the glass, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at it, and you're going to look for any cork or residue that might be in the bottle, any sediment that can follow with the winemaking process. Sometimes winemakers leave a little bit of sediment so that the process continues and it's more ageable for over 10 years. Okay. But anyway, this is a wine that is not going to have a lot of sediment. Okay. It's a wine that should be consumed within 5 to 10 years, in my opinion. And just right away, you can see that what we call the legs, the reason that we're looking for the legs, and that's the syrup-like drips on the side, and that's going to tell us how much residual sugar is in the wine. So generally, these wines that are made in warmer climates, they have a higher residual sugar, and that residual sugar will be left in the wine, and that's where we'll see that syrupy. Yep. And that also tells us that the alcohol level's generally going to be a little bit higher. Okay. And then also looking at it, we can tell that the wine is a little bit younger because it has a little bit of a blue hue around hue to it. So this is a 2020. The alcohol level is a 14.5. And I only know that because I read the label. I haven't tried it yet. But, these are some of the things that are really important to assessing the wine before you even try it, even before you smell it. And that's kind of similar aspects to tea as well. Yeah. So why don't we see what you guys think when you smell? And we're going to aerate the wine a little bit to kind of get some oxygen in contact with the grapes.
Has a lovely, it's almost a little bit of leathery. I would
okay,
feel like. A little leathery. Has, definitely the traditional like dark berry notes.
So I tend to try to simplify when doing a tasting, and you look for 3 essential aspects, and that's certain notes. You're looking for you're getting any spice notes, which is usually attains to oak and structure. Are you getting fruit notes? And then you can start breaking it down from there. Yeah. And then you're also getting hints of alcohol. Is it going to be higher in alcohol? Yeah. And so you can start to assess the wine a little bit easier, because sometimes I think people don't know where to start when they're testing wine, and they don't know how to really describe what they're smelling.
It might be intimidating.
And also the difference between the smelling and the tasting.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes people get amazed about the difference.
Sure. And I think something that's for both wine and tea, and in general, I think that people are intimidated by not knowing exactly what they're supposed to say.
Sure.
And they might feel, I feel peach, but is that right? Am I supposed to feel? And I always tell all of our customers, and even like when we have our wholesale customers who come here and we educate them, I always say there's never a wrong answer. Like everything has to do with association and what your association is to certain flavors and tastes and flavor profiles. Should we try it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
So when tasting, I think it's really important to bring air into your mouth. A lot of people don't know to do that because you're aerating the wine even further, and it's allowing your palate to open up a little bit more and receive those flavors on different parts of your palate. So the reason I like this wine a lot, or wines in general from Southern Rhone, is the bouquet is very similar to what you're tasting.
Yeah.
It's not you're getting hit with one thing in the bouquet and then something completely different in the taste. And so that's what I kind of wanted to signify in this.
I would say that
tasting.
It was fruitier.
Yep.
It was much more fruitier than I expected in this flavor. That I did. Sure. I thought it was going to be a little bit more full bodied, but this has a lovely sweetness, fruitiness, like fresh berries coming through. Yeah. Which is really, really nice. Yeah.
It's mostly Grenache, and Grenache tends to be that fruit bomb. And then you get Syrah mixed in with it to give it the nice structure, and the Mourvèdre gives it a little bit of spice.
So, and what would you say what would you recommend food wise? What would you, before Justin answers, what would you serve for this? What would you,
Oh
what do you
gosh,
think?
I'm on the spot now as amateur. No, but I think I would say that maybe a nice Boeuf Bourguignon.
Nice.
That would be my first choice, I think.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no,
Good.
works
Not
really
as amateur
well.
as you
We're
think.
talking the same language now. Good.
Yep. A lamb works really well with Grenache in general, in my experience. So, anything that it doesn't have a ton of oak, so we don't have to be worried about the sweetness or the bitterness of whatever we're going to put in a dish. We just need something that's really fatty and something that has a decent amount of acidity and something that has a decent amount of salt. And Boeuf Bourguignon is perfect for that because you're going to get the bacon bits that are going to nice and salty. And then you're also going to get that onion, so that will have a nice acidity to it. So I think it would work really, really well.
Nice. So, what I wanted to present to you were two teas, which I have cold brewed earlier today, for about say 5 hours.
Can I just ask?
Of course.
Can you just quickly say cold brew, what it is?
Yeah, how do you cold brew?
How do you cold brew?
So, when preparing, when people say iced tea or what you traditionally would do is that you would brew the tea like you typically would, and then add ice to it or put it in the fridge to chill it down. What happens then is that when you're brewing the tea, if it is in 100-degree water or 80 or 70, you're pulling out.
Are you talking about Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Celsius. Perfect. Yeah, good. What you're doing is you're also extracting certain tannins and certain compounds that are not going to be as they're going to cover up certain floral and sweet notes of the tea, which is not as appreciated when it's cold. So when I say cold brew, what I mean by that is that I'm brewing the tea in cold water, and what happens is that you would have to steep it for a much longer time because it needs more time to penetrate through the leaf and get out all the compounds,
extract the flavors,
and also the flavors and the notes and the what's it called, the smells and so on.
The aromas.
The aromas. That's the word I was looking for. And so it takes a much longer time. But it's what you're getting then is that you're not getting the temperature is too low for it to be able to extract the tannins and the stringency. So you're not going to get what you're going to get with a cold brew compared to an iced tea or a tea which is brewed and then iced down, is that you're going to get maybe a little bit less tannins, more floral notes, more sweetness, and you can also keep it for a much longer time. Because the tannins, when you keep the tea, the tannins are going to get a little bit more more distinct and more stronger.
I have a question about the
Yeah.
tannins real quick. Where are they coming from on the tea leaves? Are they anywhere specific in the tea leaf? Is it from?
So tannins are all over in the tea leaf, but you have in the tea leaf when it's very young doesn't have a lot of tannins. It's very low in tannin, but it has a molecule in the tea which is called L-theanine, and when it's exposed to too much sunlight, it turns into tannins.
Okay.
And tannins is also actually a defense mechanism for the tea plant to save itself from certain insects and certain bugs.
Oh.
Yeah. So I thought we'd start off with one of the teas here, which I have, which is a Chinese tea. It is an oolong. An oolong, without getting too much into it, it's neither a black nor a green. It's a semi-fermented tea. It's a ball-rolled oolong. It's a lighter ball-rolled oolong called tea Guan Yin. Very, very popular oolong tea from China. And what's fantastic with oolong teas in general are that they're very forgiving when it comes to brewing. You can steep them a little bit longer than you would normally, and you won't get too much of tannins. Oolongs are pretty much the leaves, which are a little bit further down on the bush. I think I poured a little bit too much for you, right?
It's okay.
Just get you to taste.
Okay, a quick question. I'm just from
Yeah.
looking at the other bottle. This one looks to be more filtered in comparison by just appearance.
Yep. So they've both been brewed in the exact same way, but this one has, since it's a larger leaf, it doesn't. Small particles don't seep through.
Okay.
So that's where you're getting a much more clear and very beautiful, elegant. I mean, this almost looks like a Chardonnay, right? Like
Yeah,
an
it does.
oak Chardonnay.
Definitely.
Visually, I mean, this would be for me. If I don't feel like drinking alcohol one night, I mean, having this, I don't think I would feel left out. I mean,
No.
among friends and everything, right?
You drink with your eyes. A lot of times, people just want something in the glass that resembles.
Yeah.
And have a wine glass.
And have a wine glass.
Yeah. That's important. And I always, I appreciate the craftsmanship of nice teapots and teacups and everything. But the problem with porcelain teapots is that we do not really get to see the beautiful colors and vibrancy of the tea, which I feel is a shame, because there's so much craftsmanship done just to get certain colors and the visual aspect of it.
As we do in your teapot, the see-through.
Yeah. That's why we decided to make it in glass, because we want to be able to visually see the tea, appreciate the tea, but also visually decide that, okay, that color is right for me, and that's what's going to decide the strength of the tea, not looking at my watch or looking
Exactly.
at,
Your father said the process. Yeah.
Exactly. So just like with wine, the first thing I would do here is look at the glass, look at the color, look at how, if it's opaque or not, if it's very transparent, very translucent. Here we're not going to get the same legs as what you're talking about, because this particular tea doesn't have a viscosity to it in that sense. But I would definitely try to get some air into it.
So would you say that certain other teas have a thicker or thinner viscosity?
We're going to try one. The other one has a certain viscosity.
Because it just automatically looks thicker.
Yeah.
When you think about certain beers that are unfiltered, they definitely have a different mouthfeel.
Mouthfeel, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're going to feel that. So just try this out, see what you think. This is a lovely, like I said, tea Guan Yin. And tea Guan Yin and its characteristics are very floral, I would say, almost like orchid. What's Syrian in English? What's Syrian?
Not jasmine.
No.
Gosh.
Either way.
Yeah.
Floral.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
floral.
We'll get back to you
So
on
very
that.
strong. Yeah.
So very floral, very light, very...
You get the tannins immediately. And it's, I mean, if you close your eyes and experience tea like you do wine, it's, aside from certain little nuances, it's not so dissimilar, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's.
I mean, this would be like a wine which you've just pulled out the alcohol.
Yeah.
Right. It has the same like flavor profiles and same floral notes, from sweet notes, fruity notes.
Same assessment, exactly. Temperature wise, is this ideal temperature for this tea? Or would you like a little colder?
So when I brewed these cold brew, I actually brewed these in room temperature. Okay. Because that might be some people might do it differently, but I feel that this particular tea works very well in room temperature. Okay. If it's too chilled, it's rather light, but it still has a little bit of body in it. Sure. You don't feel the body as much. No. The tannins aren't as, because nothing's wrong. I mean, something that people forget, like tannins in tea is not wrong, right? Tannins, just like in wine, is what gives the tea body. Yep. And so you want to if you want to have a full body tea, you're going to have a tea with quite a lot of tannins in it, just like in wine, right? Sure. Like a Shiraz or whatever. Yeah.
Or even a Chardonnay. As soon as you said it, it just reminded me about Chardonnays. I traditionally like to drink them a little bit warmer than a lot of other whites. Yeah. I like to drink them between 8 and 10 degrees Celsius because I feel like the body, the structure, and a lot of the sometimes fruit and floral notes can come forward because if it's too cold, I feel like they're hidden.
Exactly.
Because of the temperature.
Yeah, because of the temperature. Oh, so have a look at this. So this is like I said, this is tea Guan Yin Oolong tea. It's ball rolled, what we call them. That is because they're small, like almost small balls. But when this opens up, the leaf is about this big.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Right? So like I said, these are the leaves which are picked further down on the bush. Yep. So they have a little bit of age to them. But that also makes them more forgiving when you're actually brewing them.
So how are they forming them? Like how? If you have the leaf, I'm thinking, I haven't been to a
tea plantation or tea
garden. So I'm thinking a general leaf that is, I don't know, approximately this big.
No, smaller.
Much smaller. Okay.
Yep. Something like that. Okay. And what they do is, so it's a part of a whole production process. We're not going to get into that, but one of the things to get that shape is that they would put them in on sheets, and then you close the sheet and you start twisting the sheet like almost like the way you make batik, like the print batik. You just like turn it around, squeeze it, and then it just shapes into that rounded ball rolled shape. Cool. So I want you to try. What did you think? What is your
just one question? Yeah, what would you pair this with?
Very good question. So I would pair this with something rather light. So I would say a vegetarian dish, but not too spicy. So I would say like a Vietnamese nem or like a fresh salad, something like summery, fresh and a little bit of citrus in it as well. Maybe some
zucchini platters, like
that would be really
with
nice.
With a nice lemon
zest or something. Yeah, so something light because you don't want anything that's going to overpower the flavors. Right. And that would be probably a contrast pairing. I would say,
but still a balance, right?
But still a balance, yeah. And this works really well with certain desserts, which are quite floral as well. If you have a very fruity panna cotta, maybe say
anything with a sorbet, I would imagine, right? With like a really nice acidity. And
I recently had like a panna cotta with passion fruit, and this worked really well with that as well. Just it reduced the acidity in the passion fruit a little bit and brought up the floralness and the sweetness in it. So that was really nice. The second tea that I wanted you to taste is one of my favorite teas. This is, I would say, probably the highest grade of green teas from Japan. Of course, within the category, there are different qualities, but this particular tea is called Gyokuro. And Gyokuro is what we would call a shaded tea. And that is about 20 to 18 days before harvest period. You cover the bushes with black sheets to absorb the sunlight. And that's because, like I said before, we don't want those L-theanine molecules, which give the tea its floralness, its umaminess, its savory notes, to turn into tannins.
Yeah.
So this tea is covered about 20 days before, and it has an intense amount of umami. And I'm just excited talking about it. I want you guys to taste this. So either if you want to pour that out or if you want to drink it.
Yeah.
So
I don't want the wine to feel left out.
Is it important that we have water in between?
between these two, I would say it's not as important as for the wine, because you don't have that alcohol in between. But yeah, traditionally maybe I wouldn't. Traditionally, I wouldn't taste these directly after each other, anyways. But so let's try this.
Now it looks like we're drinking lemonade.
Yeah.
I gave him a little bit more.
Almost like a limoncello.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
Oh,
this one you can see.
Smells.
Yeah. All right. So not only that, but just look at the color. So just appreciate the how opaque this is in comparison to the previous one.
Definitely.
So, like I said, Gyokuro has an intense amount of umami, an intense amount of this is gonna sound weird, maybe not as appealing, but like fishy notes, and there's this bouillon, and it's so savory, so savory. And what I love about Gyokuro is that it also leaves you with your palate with a smooth silk a feeling to it, mouthfeel to it.
Reminds me of maki rolls.
No, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A combination.
I think a nori, like you
Yeah,
know the
nori,
sushi,
exactly,
sushi roll paper right away, and miso soup. You know what I mean? I feel like
With umami,
I feel like I
yeah.
just walked into the Japanese restaurant
Yeah,
waiting for my to go because I'm always in a hurry.
I'm so excited every time I drink Gyokuro. I'm just happy because it takes me back to when I studied tea in Japan as well, and just that mouthfeel.
Yeah, and softer.
It's
right?
so
Softer.
soft.
So much
yeah.
softer.
I mean, and the tannins are different in comparison
Totally,
to.
yeah.
But you get them in the
So-
end. I think they come like toward the end. So the finish on this is much longer, in my opinion. And
Much longer.
But I love the mouthfeel because I feel like you think when you try them back to back that this is going to be bigger and bolder and have more aggressive tannin structure. But like you said, them covering it, that kind of
And
masks that a
that's
little bit.
also because we're brewing it cold. So the brewing it cold is not allowing those tannins to come out as much as it would. And I would pair this with, I would say, even like pairing this with a nice fish, like a cod, or even like flavoring the cod with this. I mean, like having some sort of dressing or something, but just having this with something more fishy and just match
Could you have
pairing
a
it.
ceviche?
Like a ceviche, but I think there's too much
It's
acidity.
a spice,
Yes.
right? Or
Okay.
acidity. Yeah.
I think acidity might kill the
umami.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I might try that. But it also works really well with white chocolate.
Oh,
Yeah, it works really well with white
That's
chocolate.
cool.
Yeah.
like a white chocolate mousse, maybe. Oh,
Yeah. You're making me hungry.
yeah.
Yes, no, it's fantastic how we can compare the two experiences with wine and tea and really engaging people to or promoting people to appreciate wine or tea as they would their wine, and I think that's really important as a first step to be able to evolve in your taste in tea. Because otherwise, if you're just gonna drink it on the way to work or early mornings and in a rush and you don't appreciate it, then it's pretty much gonna taste like warm water.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I started to notice more around town that these alcohol-free packages that are showing up, and people are starting to incorporate tea into those more and more because they do have an aspect that really pairs nicely with a lot of these dishes.
Yeah.
And instead of just giving someone juice or something like that to try and match it, it's more interesting, especially with like an amazing mouthfeel like this. It creates another level of the experience.
And there's nothing that says you can't create a mocktail or a cocktail out of this. I mean,
Exactly.
there's it's endless. Right?
We should definitely do
definitely
episode about that.
I would
You
love,
just want to be able to drink some cocktails, right?
Yeah.
That's what the
Or mocktail.
or a mocktail. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
but I would really love to see like a tasting menu with the different teas, just as we did today, like in wine glasses
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I mean, why
pairing.
wouldn't you serve it in a wine glass? It's so beautiful,
exactly.
so nice. And I think that's our time, though. I'm so sorry. I mean, I could sit here for hours.
We could sit here.
Well, the
hours
chair is
and
not
hours.
that comfortable, so I don't know if I would sit here for hours.
So I'm sorry I didn't ask you to bring your own chair. I'll get better
I
chairs
feel
for
the
next
love.
time.
You feel the love.
No, it's been amazing having both of you here.
Thank you for being here.
And I hope this could be the first of many episodes for us to promote tea in a different way. And not only tea, but like just experiencing time together and just having tea as a catalyst to just sit down and have a discussion.
Yep.
Right?
Definitely. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you.